So this is quite a jump forward. This is after Yuka gets murdered up in Hitogata. We come back. Masuki has this conversation with his pops. I think that's about all we've covered, but I say that's about all we've covered, but it's actually been like a good few days in game, so I mean, other things have gone down, but you know, for those are the big story beats. Anyway, we're in Ueno. Sunset's rays were cast upon Ueno Station. The place was packed with families carting around their luggage, probably people who just returned from vacation. I planned to ask Toji if she had any new info for me, but she wasn't in her office. She must have been busy. And so, I reluctantly returned to the crowded station, took a breather at a relatively, no, completely and mysteriously deserted area in front of a food stall. Then again, there was no mystery as to why no one was around. This old man does realize that him constantly scanning the area like a hunter on the prowl with a face like his isn't good for business, right? A flyer reading new takoyaki's resolutions was affixed to the stall. The illustration just looked like 2 layers of smushed takoyaki stacked together to me, though. Those things will never sell. Even if they actually did end up tasting good, the marketing sucked. I was actually starting to feel sorry for the old man. However, just as I was about to walk over and buy one.
Takoyaki?
All the takoyaki joints and all the food stalls in all of Tokyo, Karen Hinagami had walked up to this one.
いらっしゃい、お嬢ちゃん。
お嬢ちゃん。
あら、お嬢ちゃんなんて呼ばれるような年齢じゃありませんよ。
Karen smiled. She must have been in a good mood. Damn, color me surprised. This old man actually knows how to win people over, huh? Too bad that doesn't translate into sales.
今ならこいつがおすすめだぜ。
The old man pointed at the flyer.
鏡たこ焼き？
正月の縁起物さ。どこの家庭でも必ず飾っているだろう。
はあ、普通の鏡餅でしたらありますが。
そんなんじゃ古いんだよ。
Yeah, man.
今時の若いやつはみんなこれさ。
Kids wouldn't even be putting up New Year's rice cakes, period.
おいくらですか？
She's actually gonna buy it?
普通の鏡餅だったらこの大きさでも80円はするだろうが。
Is he seriously still trying to pass it off as a substitute for those?
半額ですか？それは安いですね。
Don't take the bait.
ああ、生ものだから早めに食ってくれよ。
That was a blatant falsehood. Besides, people wouldn't be putting perishables on display to begin with. Unfortunately, Karen bought the takoyaki without any heed to my internal conflict.
あら、時坂さん。
どうも。
Felt awkward having her address me when I'd seen that whole thing from start to finish.
たこ焼き召し上がりますか？
Karen held out a takoyaki container that was in the shape of a tree. What the fuck is a tree ratna? Motherfucker, you're making me Google shit. What the fuck is a tree ratna? Buddhism? The Triratna Buddhist community, formerly the Friends of the Western... Okay, so it's just the 3 orbs stacked on top of each other. Okay, I guess. Why is that just a symbol you expect me to know? Like, it's in the shape of a Triratna. Like, yes, of course. I understand.
いえ、結構です。
I need to get away from this place. Now. Shut up. Okay, so now this is after little Michiru got kidnapped. I turned right back into the hospital. Though I'd already tried once, I was hoping to get some answers out of Michiru. The lobby was still deserted. New orange had been set atop the New Year's rice cake on the reception desk. It's about time they took that down. I nabbed the orange as that thought rose to the forefront of my mind. Given everything that just happened, Michiru was probably in her room. Let's see. It was this way, right? Proceed down the hallways until I found the door labeled Michiru Shirasaki.
みちる入るぞ。
Oh. Yeah, didn't want to walk in on that. All right. First thing I noticed when I stepped inside was her bared skin, pale as the moon. Michiru turned to me,
悪い。
turned and tried to leave.
待って
Michiru's voice brought me to a halt.
背中届かないから拭いて
She held a towel out to me.
誰か他の人に
ななこちゃんも今いないから風邪ひくから早く
She must have just gotten out of the bath, seeing as how her hair was wet and all. Ugh, she's really laying on the guilt.
あっち向いてろよ。
Took the towel and reached out to her back. It was completely spotless, but without the bandages, I could now see countless dirty red scars across her wrists and neck. They'd probably been self-inflicted.
かゆいところとかないか。
I asked as I wiped her back.
あそこがかゆい
Real helpful. I combed up her hair and wiped her neck.
変な声出すな。
ちょっと感じた
I ultimately decided that was a comment best left ignored.
拭き終わったぞ。
前は
自分でやりなさい。
I handed her the towel. Michiru started wiping herself
なあ
down.
みちる。
何
She turned her head my way.
さっきは結局何があったんだ。
知らない
Michiru shook her head, much as I expected.
どうあっても教えてくれないのか。
約束したから
That was the same response as before. However, the fact that she'd made a promise meant someone else had definitely been involved. Which was another way of saying she clearly hadn't run away by herself. But who? Who could it have been? My first guess was the kidnapper, but some things didn't add up if it had been the work of the hoodlums from yesterday. First, there'd been two of them, and second, they'd come off as types who'd resort to threats of violence to ensure Michiru's silence. Those sorts of threats no longer held power once you were out of harm's way, which meant Michiru would have no further reason to keep quiet after she was safe and sound. Now, while it was entirely possible they terrified her so badly that she didn't dare talk about it, that hypothesis didn't mesh with how calm she was. So then, who in the world had sworn her to secrecy?
時坂さん
My maelstrom of thoughts was swept away by Nanako's voice.
何をなさっているんですか
Yeah. That's a great question, Nanako. Must say I don't trust you either. It's kind of weird when you find Reiji in the room with this unsupervised, very young girl, especially given his track record.
何をって。
The grown man was in the same room as the girl, practically garbed in her birthday suit. This would go over well.
みちるの体を拭い。
She's not gonna believe that, is she?
とにかく部屋から出てください
はい。
It is she ordered, seeing as how she clearly wouldn't take any excuses. Then I smoked by a nearby ashtray until an apologetic Nanako eventually left Michiru's room.
すみません誤解をしてしまったようで
いや、誤解を受けるようなことをしていた俺も悪いですから。
Wait, Michiru actually took responsibility? But I'd see the day.
でもみかんを渡して口止めさせるのはいけないと思います
I spoke too soon. Come to think of it, the orange had disappeared from the reception desk at some point. Had the culprit bribed her in a similar manner? Nah, no way. With dinner and my bath done, sleep was all I had left to look forward to.
そういや、ゆかり、明日から授業か。
Okay, is this what I've seen before? Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, so now this is after Masuki has his little interview with Rokushiki. And I forget what he actually learns from Rokushiki, but I suppose he learned something. Took a stroll around Inokashira Park's pond. There was hardly anyone in the area, probably because the moisture made this place even chillier in an already cold winter. Oh, and let me guess, we're gonna run into fucking Yukiko? With the notable exception of Yukiko sitting on a bench and staring out at the pond.
寒くないのかい？
She made a quiet sound when she noticed me.
時坂さんのお兄さん
何か見えるのかい？
I followed her line of sight. A pigeon was squatting at the base of a tree by the path.
後が寒そうで
俺には君の方が寒そうに見えるけどね。
私はそうでもありません
Nuh-uh. Said the girl's lips were going purple.
どこか悪いのかな？
病院で診察も受けてきましたし
だったら家に帰るなりして。
そうですね。
Yukiko rose to her feet.
もう少しこの辺りをふらついて。
I wanted to tell her she'd be better off going home ASAP, but I knew I had no place forcing her.
無理はするんじゃないぞ。
ええ、分かっています。
Yukiko bowed and left. I wasn't so sure I could take her at her word, but there was nothing I could do about it. For now, I'd just go to Moonworld and offer to escort her home if I happen to find her still wandering around later. That sounded like the best course of action. Kichijoji Station was square and wreathed in shadows. Okay, is this scene? It is. Okay, so now this is after we went to that old church. No, Mosky went to the church, right? I think that's what it was. Somebody went to that old church, found Naori's name tag there. So yeah, this is after, obviously after we've been reintroduced to Naori and all. Oh, I think we got reintroduced to Naori a while back. Along those same lines, it was after that moment where you walk Yukiko home. It's after Kyoko's cafe gets stood up, or held up. Now we're going to Kichijoji for some reason. Though practically a ghost town compared to Ueno and Shichiku, it was still busy in its own right. Droves swarmed the nearby shopping district while students filed out of the station gates like a colony of ants.
時坂先生。
What's good? Ayame trotted over to
い
me.
やー、佐藤さん。今日は部活はないのかい？
ええ。それで休憩がてら月世界へ行ったのですが、閉まっていました。
She eyed me with the scrutiny of a sentinel guarding their liege.
何かあったんですか？
さあ、俺は何も聞いてないな。
聞いていないのに、例えがやけに具体的ですね。
Ayame stared deep into my eyes. Damn, she's sharp.
それに、今日は先輩方も様子がおかしかったから。
気のせいだろ。
Does that mean Yukari had realized what was up and Ayame had picked up on that?
何か隠してますよね。
I've got a few, honestly.
大人には隠し事が多いんだよ。
True.
そういうのを聞いているわけじゃないんですが。
Ayame heaved a sigh.
隠しておきたいことなんですよね。
What a good egg. Still, I had to be careful, since responding to that was as good as saying that I was indeed hiding something.
何かおごってあげようか。
結構です。買収するつもりでしたら、捜査に連れて行ってください。
I really haven't been trying to bribe her, though. Moonworld was completely deserted. Have I seen this? Yes. Okay, so I think this is new. Like, new. Okay, so yeah, this does pick up, like, immediately after... Okay. So this picks up, like, immediately after the last ending I got. So now we're entirely uncharted territories, alright? First period had ended. Yukari turned around to face the empty seat behind her. That was Yukiko's desk. However, she had yet to show. Okay, so if you don't interact with Yukiko enough, it just goes to that scene and ends. But apparently, if you actually interact with her enough, then the story can still continue from the same exact point. Interesting. Perhaps she'd fallen ill. At least that was the vain hope Yukari clung to.
聞いてきたよ。
Yeah, I don't care about you. It was then that Kohane returned from the visit she paid the staff room.
何かわかりましたか？
Anxiety gnawed even more fiercely at Yukari's heart when she saw the glum look on Kohane's face.
それがね、急に今朝になって退学届が出されたって。退学？なぜですか？それは先生も分かっていないみたい。何しろ突然だったからって。
Kohane weakly shook her head.
やっぱり昨日のことが原因でしょうか。
Yukari recalled how someone had come to pick Yukiko up and taken her away in a car.
多分そうなんだと思うけど、昨日の人に小羽は何か心当たりがあるようでしたが、それは。
Kohane held her tongue. I knew it. She really does know something. Yukari had suspected as much ever since she'd seen the days Kohane had drifted into when they'd watched Yukiko get taken away.
何か知っているのでしたら話してくださいませんか？ごめん、わかんない。
Kohane just shook her head again. Yukari could immediately tell Kohane was hoping she dropped the subject.
お願いします、小羽。事情はわかりませんが、友達がいきなりいなくなってしまうなんて。
Yukari squeezed Kohane's hand.
せめて何があったのか、茅原さんに
Yeah, come on,
事情だけでも
Kohane,
聞
be
きたいん
useful
です。
for once in your fucking life,
ゆ
please.
かりっち、そうだよね。お願いします。昨日ユキコちゃんを連れて行った人に心当たりというか覚えがあるの。確か黒谷さんとかいう。黒谷？
That name sounded familiar to her.
漢字ではどう書きますか？色の黒に弓矢の矢だったと思うけど。
That's it.
前に兄の事務所で書類を片付けている時、黒谷さんというお医者様の捜索依頼があるのを見た覚えがあります。
Though she didn't remember his first name, seeing as how that had been a while back, still wasn't a very common surname.
よく覚えているわね。ええ、あの時雲がいましたから。
I remember because there was a spider. Oh, Yukari.
それで覚えてるゆかりっちがすごいわよ。
Hell yeah, she is. Kohane got up.
どうする？それはもちろん行きますよ。
Yukari rose to her feet as well. The bell rang, indicating the start of second period.
ごめんなさい。
Yukari and Kohane rushed out of the classroom after informing their confused classmates. Though she never cut class before in her life, she was determined to figure out what had happened to Yukiko as soon as possible. Especially when the pained look on Yukiko's face as she got in that car refused to leave her mind. Interesting. Now see, that's also interesting, because clearly, Yukari is the one taking the lead here, but like, we gotta figure out what happened. So why is it dependent on Reiji's interactions that anything gets done? I'm guessing at some point she goes to Reiji, and I guess Reiji will be like, oh yeah, she always seemed like a nice kid, we'll help her out. But like, what if he doesn't interact with her enough? It's just like, I don't know, I don't care about the kid, whatever. Like, if she wants to be in a cult, let her be in a cult. Jesus, Yukari, fuck off. Like, I don't think Reiji would be like that. I don't understand why we needed a specific number of Yukiko interactions, but whatever. Or maybe it's that we need the specific number of interactions for Yukiko to actually leave the cult when the time comes. But even then, why would the bad ending not be, once we get there and then she says, no, go away. I don't want to leave. I want to stay here. So I feel like that'd be a bad ending. It's just things conclude there. We get kicked out of the cult building. They get higher security. We're never able to make another attempt. Bad ending. I feel like that would make a bit more sense than just like, yep, she's in the cult now. Anyway, game over. Monsky was just about to leave when he heard footsteps racing up the stairs.
まさきさん。
あれ、どうしてここに？
Perfect guy to run into, though. Monsky cocked his head when Yukari and Kohane barged into the office.
今日はまだ授業があるんじゃないのか？
それは。
Yukari hung her head. While Monsky was certainly no paragon himself, he'd never skipped school back when he'd been Ayato Hinagami. Then again, that wasn't a very big accomplishment, considering there hadn't been anything worth cutting class for all the way out in the boonies.
机の上に人探しの依頼書がありませんでしたか？
ああ、あったけど、君の兄さんがしまったんじゃないかな。
Why would Yukari be interested in something like that?
内容をご存知ですか？
誰を探すという依頼だい？
黒谷さんという。
え？
The request had indeed been to find Naori Kuroya. However, that was just a lie Meguri had cooked up. Hold on, forget that. Why is she looking into Nao in the first place?
黒谷直りのことだよね。
そうです。
そりゃまあ、これからその本人に会いに行くつもりだったから。
Oh. Now it's Yukari's turn to be surprised.
私たちも連れて行ってください。
どうしてだい？
Monsky held out his hand when Yukari started striding forward with such intensity that he wouldn't have been surprised if she grabbed him by the collar and started interrogating him.
茅原さん、ユキコはご存知ですよね？
ああ、もちろん。
彼女が連れて行かれたんです。
どういうことだい？
それがわからないから。
Masaki understood that they must have had their reasons. Unfortunately, today had been the worst day to ask. He was about to go ask Naori about the group suicide at the White Lily Garden and such. Yeah. Like, actually, I got some really important line of questioning I gotta ask myself. And see, that god damn it, that's another thing why I don't understand that goddamn bad ending. Because, like, clearly I had Masaki had more things to do. Unless he was reluctant to bring them along. But Eiji would surely give him hell for making his sister party to such a grisly discussion, too. Still, Masaki could also tell Yukari was serious. He was weak to earnest pleas delivered with such desperation.
分かったよ。
As much as he didn't want to, he couldn't help but accept.
ありがとうございます。小羽も。
This isn't gonna end well.
私はいいよ、やっぱり。
Ooh. Why will you pass, Koane? Do you have some history with Kuroya? Koane rapidly waved her hands.
やっぱりついていけない。そうですか。
Yukari hung her head.
すみません。ここまで連れてきてしまって。こちらこそごめんね。
Koane shook her head.
まさきさん。
ああ、そのつもりだけど。
では、小羽も一緒に出ましょう。駅まではご一緒できるでしょうから。ごめんね。
Koane feebly apologized to Yukari before leaving the office.
では。
そうだね。
I worked my lungs out at the miasma of cigarette smoke that greeted me when I ventured into Toji's office in Ueno.
何か文句でもあるのか？
いや、文句はないさ。
Why would there be a problem? Fuck. I escaped Toji's bloodshot glare and retrieved a cigarette of my own. It was clear that throwing my own smoke into the mix was the only way I'd be coming out of this alive. Toji snorted and handed me her ashtray.
悪いな。
本当に悪いぞお前は。週5以上に人使いが荒い。
ヤギ沼よりマシだろう。
ああ、確かに。
Pall of smoke intensified.
頼まれた金融会社の調査だが、確かに典型界の系列企業に名前を連ねていた。
まだ1年経ってない会社か。
資金洗浄のために会社も特会引っかいやっているんだろうさ。禁酒法時代のギャングがよく使っていた手口だ。
宗教団体とはとても思えないな。
宇津木は典型会が設立される前から株などもやっていたようだな。当時成長著しかったひな神製薬の株式も所持しているようだ。
やれやれ、宗教家とは思えんな。チンピラのような連中も雇っているようだし。
それも信者なのだろうさ。
Toji stubbed out her cigarette and picked up a tonfa sitting against her desk. Yes?
いっそのこと殴り込みでも仕掛けるか。
Yes! I want to see you
最
kick
近は体が弱ってい
ass!
るようでな。
下っ端を締め上げたところで何も分かりはしないだろうさ。
I don't want them getting swept up in her little venting session. I do. Much less myself.
殴り込みはしなくても、宇津木警護には会いに行った方がいいだろうな。
喫茶店を襲撃した実行犯を捕まえるんじゃないのか。
Toji cocked her head.
前日に嫌がらせをしてきた連中の顔は覚えているから、宇津木のところにいたとしたらすぐに抑えられるだろうさ。
その連中が襲撃したと考えているようではな。
まあな、連中がやったにしては早すぎる。6日の夜に俺が追い返して
時間を空けて対策を練られるよりはと考えたのではないか。
あと一つ理由がある。京子は金を返す立場の人間だ。襲って怪我を負わせては返済も難しくなるだろうし、
彼女が黙秘していることも何か
単純な取り立てのトラブルとは思えないからな。
This whole thing would have been so much easier if Kyoko were willing to talk. I didn't see her changing her tune anytime soon, if ever.
宇津木には以前取材で会ったことがある。アポイントメントは取り付けることができると。
頼んでもいいか。
そうだな。私も奴には少し気にかかることがある。
何かあったのか。
大したことじゃない。ただ奴が私のことを知っているような素振りを見せていたのが、もちろん千里教絡みで知られている可能性もあるが、それだけではないような気がしてな。
pull that up, considering Toji had once been a high-ranking member of the Hand of Death, that organization based in Ueno.
まあお前さんは目立つから仕方ないだろう。
Not just because of her past, but also her silver hair and single arm.
髪を黒く染めてみたこともあったんだが
Ew.
どうしてそのままにしておかなかったんだ？
Sucked.
致命的に似合わなかった。
I nearly laughed my ass off there. Don't you ever dye Toji's hair. I'll kill you. Masuki and Yukari were brought to the Blessed Congregation's infirmary.
どうしてこんなところに？
あいつの仕事場だそうだよ。
Masuki's explanation did little to ease Yukari's fidgeting.
これからこちらはかなり血生臭い話をすると思う。
He'd already asked her many times on the way over, but this truly was her last chance.
ええ、心配いりませんよ。
Yukari smiled at Masuki. Group suicide at the White Lily Garden could have involved orphans around Yukari's age. Should I really be subjecting her to any of this? Masuki agonized over his dilemma, but ultimately found no answer. Suddenly the door opened, revealing Naori.
待たせたね。おや、
Oh, that's right. We have a guest today, Naori. Naori cocked his head when he saw Yukari.
お邪魔しております。時坂ゆかりと申します。
Yukari stood and
自
bowed.
分が世話になっている人の妹さんだよ。
Naori furrowed his brow before shrugging.
まあいいや。それで、お前は何の用事で来たんだ？
Two old friends faced each other.
ああ、ちょっと尋ねたいことがあったんだ。
Knowing he'd come too far to turn back now, Masuki produced the name tag he found at the ruins of the White Lily Garden.
俺の名札だな。
It sure is, buddy. Naori took it and looked it over.
名前だけで肩書きも何も書かれていないってことは、
わかるのか？
まあ自分の名前があるものだからね。
Naori handed the name tag back to Masuki.
これは白百合の園という孤児院の跡地で見つけてきた。
ああ、あの時は俺もあそこにいたからな。
Oh. Naori nodded.
何が起こったんだ？
Masuki took care not to mention the words group suicide in front of Yukari.
前に子供たちを救いたいとお前に言ったことがあったよな。
じゃあその結果が。
子供たちは集団生活によるストレスをため続けていた。過去には虐待などもあったようだし、
Naori heaved a sigh.
それを救えなかったのは
あの、
Yukari suddenly broke her silence.
何か
その孤児院に
いたよ。茅原という姓ではなかったけれど、ユキコという子は白百合の園で預かっていた。
Oh, ho, ho.
その時の姓は何と？
わからない。いや、そういうのは適切ではないかもしれない。
事件の時にもいたのか？
いたよ。ただ年代が異なったせいか、事件には関わらなかったよね。
Clearly she wasn't involved.
彼女は、ユキコは今どこにいるんですか？
Yukari leaned forward.
君が同じ制服を着ているから、当然彼女のことを尋ねてくると思っていたよ。
お前、
そうじゃない。
どういうことですか？
彼女は巫女として典型会に迎え入れられました。
ミコ。おい、それ。
お前の考えているものとは違うよ。あくまでも典型会の、いや、千里教の時にいた。
Yeah, you know the way that cult back in the day worked? Yeah, we're replicating that. That'll end well, right?
何が違うってんだ？
確かにそう大差はないだろうな。
How is that not what I'm thinking?
この団体にとって重要な血筋のものとされているようだ。
Wait, she's part of a lineage that's considered exalted. Is she a fucking long-lost Shigasa or something? Which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. It's not like the Shigasas are very widespread. Well, I mean, technically, I guess it could be. Because we know Michio Shigasa, right, was just, creaming every bitch he could get his hands on. Tokiko was his... Yeah, Tokiko was his direct descendant, his daughter. But with all the women he was piping, he could have plenty of illegitimate children out there. So, potentially, that could be a possibility. No. Well, maybe. I think I'd have to figure out when Michio took over. Well, I mean, that is the thing. He was exalted. He was kicked out of the Hitogata, or at least his name was scratched from all the records, even when Ayato and the rest of them were children, right? So honestly, that timeline would kind of line up. If Yukiko had been born around the same time as the Satsuki incident when they were 13, 17 years later would be, nowadays, Masaki would be 30, and then someone born at that time would be 17, which would be where Yukiko would be at. So, if there is a timeline where that happens, it just depends on when Michio took over control of the Blessed Congregation, or the Congregation of the Blessed. The current one is the Blessed Congregation. Congregation of the Blessed was the original, I think. Whatever. So potentially, the problem is I don't know when he actually took over. Is that something? And since I'm Masaki, I can't check notes. Great. So, when was Senri formed? I think that's the big question. When did Senri take over? I know it's been mentioned at some point. I just can't remember. But I mean, if the timelines lined up, I could potentially see that being a possibility of why her lineage would be so important if she's a descendant of the Shigasas.
お前も詳しくは知らないのか？
当然だろ。俺は信者じゃないからね。外部との連絡役に借り出されることはあっても。
Naoto shrugged. Sounded fishy, but Masaki couldn't tell if he was lying. Though admittedly, there was something that bugged him. How could Naoto say she was an exalted lineage when he claimed her parents were an enigma? And again, perhaps he really hadn't been given the details. Still, the Naoto Kuroya that Masaki knew would never have missed such a blatant contradiction.
黒谷さん。
何ですか？
ユキコに。
それはおそらく無理だろうね。
この建物にいるのではないですか？
Yukari pressed Naori.
昨日ここへ彼女を連れてきたのは確かだけれどね。彼女には誰も危害を加えることはできないよ。織部さんも真摯な人物だし、何も心配することはないさ。
Keep your cool, Yukari. Keep your cool.
そういう問題ではありません。
Yukari, keep your cool. Yukari shook her head, but ultimately held her tongue, all words failing her. Okay.
あと一ついいか？
なんだい？
その白井。
それは俺にできないことの。
Naori chuckled awkwardly.
何分昔のことでもあるし、当時の資料が残っているかも定かではない。
どこだ
Naori gestured to the east with his thumb.
決まっているだろう。警視庁さ。
Okay. Okay. He kept waiting in the living room until I heard the front door open. So she's finally back, huh?
兄さん、ただいま帰りました。
ゆかり、
はい。
さっき担任の先生から電話がかかってきた。
Yukari gasped and fell silent.
何があったんだ？
I knew my sister would never skip school without good reason, which meant it must have been something serious. That was why I refused to scold her without hearing her side of the story.
それは。
Yukari suddenly covered her mouth and fell to her knees.
ゆかり？
Aw, no. Stop it.
ごめんなさい。
I don't want to see Yukari crying. Yukari wept. Yukari. I got out of my chair and crouched down next to her.
なあ、ゆかり。
His spoke as kindly as I could so as not to further agitate her.
お前が理由もなくそんなことをするなんて思ってないさ。
それがわからないんです。何が何だか。
My sister heaved sobs as she struggled to get those words out.
今茶を入れてくるから少し座ったろ。
Normally I would have offered her coffee, but we were still out. By the time I returned with tea, Yukari was slumping in a chair, her head drooped so low it pained me to watch.
少しは落ち着いたか？
申し訳ありませんでした。
I set a teacup before
聞
Yukari.
かせてくれるか？
はい。
Yukari sipped her tea and kept her hands wrapped around the cup as she began explaining the situation. She told me about how Yukiko had quit school, about how a man in a white robe had taken her away, how she'd gone to see that man, now at a Kuroya with Masaki, and about how Yukiko had gone to the Blessed Congregation of her own volition and became their oracle.
ユキコが自分の意思で言ったのは確かなことなのかもしれません。
According to Yukari, it looked like Yukiko wanted to say something. All roads led back to the Blessed Congregation, huh?
わかった。あとは俺に任せておけ。
Plans were already in motion for me to meet with Keigo Utsuki tomorrow, albeit on another matter entirely. Plus, I could probably seize that chance to milk some information on this matter as well.
はい。ユキコお願いいたします。
Yukari bowed.
しかし、まさきのバカは何をしに行ったんだ？
その孤児院での集団自殺について。
集団自殺？
兄さんが調べるよう要請されたのではありませんか？
いや、俺が頼んだのは典型会のことだけで。
Maybe this group suicide had come up in the process. Still, I hadn't seen anything like that coming.
兄さん、まさきさんを責めないでくださいね。
Yukari foresaw what I was thinking and pleaded with me.
わかってるよ。
I reluctantly nodded as I pondered how I was going to make that nitwit's life hell. No, not the red screen. A man rested atop a modest bed. He was Tokihiro Oribe, leader of the Blessed Congregation. However, he wasn't sleeping. The eyes adorning his gaunt face were fixed on the ceiling.
私もどうやらもう長くないようだ。
Suddenly, he spoke.
これからの典型会は君のような若者たちに任せるべきなのだろうな。
Though Oribe was in his mid-50s, he looked far older than that. That stood testament to how gravely his disease had ravaged him.
私の志を。
In response, I... plunged my knife deep into Oribe's stomach. His body spasmed as he coughed up blood, seemingly lacking the strength to even writhe in pain. I leaned over and whispered my answer directly into his ear. Mark my words. I have inherited your will. Okay. That could be any number of people. At first I was thinking it'd be Yukiko, right? When he talks about inheriting my will, I'm like, oh, is that what the Oracle's supposed to do? But then I don't think Yukiko would go so far as to stab someone. I just don't think she's capable of it. But alright. I met up with Toji in front of Shinjuku Station that Friday morning.
まさきはいないのか？
あいつだったら朝早くに警視庁へ向かったらしい。
動こうとしないやつよりはマシなんじゃないか？
勝手に動かれて事態を引っかき回される方が厄介だよ。
今のところはどうなんだ？良い方向に動いているんじゃないのか？
人んちの妹を連中の本拠地まで連れて行ってか？
無事だったんだろ？それで情報を探ってくれたのだからいいじゃないか。
まあ、意味がないように思える回り道はあいつに任せるとするよ。
I probably wouldn't have gone to some abandoned orphanage out in Hachioji, so he had me beat there. I was more the type who only tried visiting places that'd be surefire gold mines of info.
じゃ、行くか。
We headed for the station. Our destination was Kunitachi Station, where we'd make for the Blessed Congregation's HQ.
となると、この建物の中に
ここかどうかはわからないがな。 連れて行かれたことは間違いない。
そう言わされている可能性が高いと。
あるいは何らかの手段によってそう信じ込まされているからそういった精神を操る奴が
Yeah,
典型界にいないとも限らない。
It's not like that doctor there is the son of a psychiatrist whose sole specialty was psychiatry, you know. The only one I knew was behind bars. Whatever the case, it'd probably be worth asking Yukiko's mother to shed some light on this whole affair. That's true, no one's gone to Fumiya yet. Fumiya. No, not Fumiya. Did I forget her fucking name? Fuyumi. It was Fuyumi. I feel bad that I don't even remember her fucking name. Yeah, Fuyumi. Fuyumi. God, I can't believe we got Fumiya. Jesus. No, but what I wanted to look at now that I am Reiji once again. Do you have anything on Michio Shigasa? You don't? Why not? Yes, you do. Founder of the Congregation of the Blessed, was an arrogant and greedy man, son of the Shigasas, ran away from Hitogata in the 1920s. Okay. Ran away from Hitogata in the 1920s. Oh, he ran away. I see. But we don't know exactly when he took over. Senri. Religious organization active until 1951. Okay, that's when they were active until. When did they, New religion derived from the Congregation of the Blessed in Senri, founded by Tokihiro Oribe. But nothing about the Congregation of the Blessed. Nothing that would help me solidify my timeline. Bunks. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like there's anything that would help me solidify my timeline here. It tells me when Senri ended, which we already knew. And it tells me that the Blessed Congregation is this new upstart of the Congregation of the Blessed. All we know is that Michio ran away in the 20s, right? Which... Okay, so I think the timelines could line up then. Because that means Ayato would have been 13 in 1940. Right, that's when that whole backstory is taking place in 1940. So if we would have been 13 in 1940, well, that's the thing, if Michio ran away in the 20s, like Ayato was born in 27, which means chances are Michio left before Ayato was even born. So to think that in, at least 13 years' time, that he could have, climbed up the ranks and taken over and started Senri. Okay, here we go. Was originally established by Michio Shigasa, but he was assassinated shortly after the war. So that means he would have been assassinated sometime in 45. And then it became Senri later and carried on as Senri until 51. So I think the timeline could line up for Yukiko to be a Shigasa. I think there's a possibility that Michio piped up some other girl. Possibility.
なんだか騒がしいな。
Doja came to a halt and stared down the road, right at the Blessed Congregation's headquarters. Confused, I strained my ears and heard some sort of commotion coming from the inside.
何かあったのか
Something was definitely off, that much was certain. This was a complete U-turn from the deathly silent building I'd last seen.
聞いてみることにしよ
Doji approached the man stationed in front of the door.
何でしょうか。
う。失礼。宇津木さんに面会の約束を取り付けているものだが。
Man glanced at the door behind him, then turned back to us.
今は立て込んでおります。
何かあったんですか
お教えすることはできません。
The man stubbornly shook his head, blocking the way in like the sentry he was. Doji and I couldn't well force our way through after he turned us away so courteously. Plus, even if he hadn't, I doubted we could take a man of such a rugged build head on. Seemed more like hired muscle than a believer.
どうする
Doji turned to me.
一旦出直そう
Doubted breaking in was going to do us much good anyway. All we'd get was a trip to the slammer for assault along with breaking and entering. Thus, I retreated from the door and scanned the building.
何らかの不測の事態が起こっているようだな。
少しこの辺りで情報を集めよう
分かった。
頼むからそのコートの内側に隠して
Yeah, she totally brought the tonfa with her. I was gonna say, Horeiji's like, I don't know if we could take a man that rugged on. I'm like, well, I mean, if Toji brought her tonfa, she could take fucking anyone on. I nearly shit my pants when I saw glimpses of it during our talk with the man. There was no chance in hell of justifying ourselves if she started whacking people with that tonfa. God damn it, you better let me see her fucking pop off again. Don't you fucking tease me like this. I swear to fucking God. It was one thing to show me Toji again after all this time. But then for her to be like, but then to specifically point out that she still has her tonfa with her, I mean, come on. Come on.